All right. Welcome, everyone, again. Another Locker Room Access podcast. Very exciting time for us. You've probably seen the Who swept out another overtime win on the road at Louisville this week. Brings them now to 5-1 overall, 3-0, and first place in the ACC for the time being. So we got a lot to cover this week. It's a bye week coming up, so we're going to take a look at that game, and then we're going to go into what does this look like for the rest of the year. Can the Who's make the ACC Championship? Can they make the playoffs? Could it be possible? These are things we'll cover tonight. So you know me, Josh. We got Dragon, our co-host, with us, and very special guest tonight, our guy from Locker Room Access, Jazznut. That's how most of you probably know him, but he's essentially our administrator, our mod, our holds everything together, like the glue man of LRA, if you will.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. It's nice to be invited. B Dragon tried to tell me I couldn't be on it, but I just stuffed myself in when JB told me he gave me the link. So we're good to go. I will give my takes whenever I can, but I'm sure JB's and B Dragons are going to be much better than mine. All right, go ahead.
No, you're good. All takes are welcome. Any good ones are here.
Podcast to keep me off the leaderboard. That's right.
You will be disqualified at some point. I have no idea how it's going to happen, but it'll happen.
Well, we'll jump right into it. Louisville game, that's the big thing coming away. So I'll be honest, I was out of town for the game, so I was kind of watching on my phone, kind of hopping around from place to place trying to keep up. Got to see most of it, got to keep up. And I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me was the resiliency of the team in this one. So I'm sure most realize Dak Twitty went down with a pretty bad-looking injury. I mean, had to be carted off. It was a pretty rough scene. I think it was like the third play of the game or second play.
I was say second or third play of the game. They had the big play. Yeah, two or three. It was in the first series, though.
Yeah, so, and I mean, just that, just the scene of it all. I don't know how he's doing. I hope he's okay. Everything. I hope he's good. But just seeing your teammate go off like that and then having to, hop right back in. Because I think if I remember right, that same play, it was going to be like an 80-yard run, and it got called back for a hold, which I thought was a pretty iffy call to begin with. But beyond that, though, such a punch in the gut, for the team. For them to respond and to not really get down on themselves, hang their heads and to keep playing ball, I was impressed. As the game went on, they had some other issues. Boley went down. Chandler got hurt on the next to last play when he was trying to get to the end zone. Seems like everybody's saying he's good. I think I saw Elliott even say that he was good, so I think that's kind of out in the open now. But just the resiliency for this team to keep fighting through all that, to see him go down, Twitty, and then to fight the whole game, to deal with Boley going down, having more issues on the offensive line, and then to be in that crucial situation in overtime, and your everything leader quarterback goes down, and to not even hesitate, just to punch it in the next play. I came away very impressed with the resiliency of this group.
Yeah, it's something that, I feel like we've seen in bits and pieces several times this year. Florida State game, obviously, they had to show a little bit of grit there to hold on after having the lead. But they really showed it, I think, in a place where historically this team or this program under this current regime maybe wouldn't have been able to stand up. Lost in everything you just said as well. They blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. I remember I was watching the game, my father-in-law, and at one point it's like, oh, they're up 10. There was about 10 minutes to go. I was like, yeah, I don't feel so great about that right here. And, sure enough, a couple good plays here. But Louisville earned it. They didn't really blow it, but they had to fight back from that just to get into overtime. So I think we're just seeing it. I talked about it with some people in the forum today. I think we're just seeing, Elliott has this locker room, and he has this group of men believing in what they're doing and believing in what their season, they're manifesting it now week in and week out in a way that, you always hear coach speak, but this is another thing when it's coach speak and everyone buys in. And that's what, especially in football, that's just so critical. Jazz, you're in the military, it's the same idea. It's the exact same idea. It's sometimes you just got to get all the guys walking in one direction and believing in what they're doing, even if it's not necessarily the perfect plan or perfect thing. But if you get everyone going in the right direction, all of a sudden, you're rowing the boat or whatever in the world you want to call analogy you want to use.
I really think it's like the camaraderie of everything, right? I mean, once you start believing and once you see the winning and once you see everything going, even if the chips are down, especially when the run game and the passing isn't and the points are not coming, they're still like, well, we've done this before, so we're not going to give up. Whereas, I mean, it feels like the last like 5, maybe 10 years that as soon as you're down, you're like, well, we're done. We're done. We're not going to get this done. So we might as well not even worry about it. And then as opposed to now where I feel like there's that, well, we're going to get this back. We're just going to do it. So we just let
I agree. I feel like it's definitely, it's not dissimilar. I'm not saying your shirt's reminding me of this right now. It's not dissimilar to what Tony Bennett had with the basketball team going from 18 to 19 in that championship run of those couple of years there where they've kind of seen the worst of the worst and they know they could bounce back from it. So suddenly, and everyone just bought in for 9 months or 12 months there consecutively. They're like, we're just going to do this thing. And by hook or by crook, if we're down 8 late, doesn't matter. We've seen worse. And, and that's a product also of not only buying into it, but it's a product of, like you said, like winning. It makes it a lot easier to buy into it,
And this one is more, this manifested a lot quicker because with your Tony Bennett thing, I mean, they had the whole year. They had 2 or 3 years where this was building up. This one was, they didn't even know at the beginning of the year if they were going to be any good. Now, maybe in the locker room, they're like, oh, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. They knew it, but no one else did.
Right.
There were a lot of questions.
Yeah. And I think that's where, it's, you kind of see people talk about like, okay, they went out, they spent all this money, they dominated in the portal, they brought in all these new faces, and this new talent is what's taken them to the next level. And it obviously, the new talent has been phenomenal, but there's a lot to be said. And we saw it in spits and spats previously with this team. The Wake Forest game last year comes to mind where they were down in the fourth and had to come back and win. And I remember being like, oh man, this is a game that Virginia usually loses, and they fought back. And I'm saying all that to say, like, I feel like, let's say there's 25 to 35 new faces on the team, which means there's about 40-ish faces that have been there. And those guys were kind of always bought into it. And that culture was so strong with them, they made it very easy to then pick and choose the groceries on top of it and then just keep building on that foundation. I think that's the difference between, the success Virginia's having and some of the teams you see who go into the struggle in other places and they go in a portal and they struggle because they're building it on a shaky foundation. And it just doesn't hold up when the going gets tough.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that completely. It's one of those situations where it feels like, it's been such a slow build of like waiting to get, just that turn that they needed to really take off. But it now feels like because the lid is kind of off, so to speak, on it, that success and that mindset feels contagious. Like the team, they're all believing, the coaches are believing, heck, the fans are believing. I mean, the positive energy that's been coming through this program for probably the last 2-3 weeks or so has been insane. I mean, nothing like I feel like I've seen in my entire fandom of being a UVA fan. Like it just feels like the right things are happening, the good things are going, and it feels like that's really spreading everywhere. Yeah,
it definitely is. I mean, and in a lot of ways, I think the fans have been the most difficult ones to win over. Mm-hmm. This current staff didn't have a lot of support, coming into the season. I think, that's I'm not stretching the truth there, but as a program on the whole, I think, most of us, I think, Jazz, you're the oldest of this group here by just a couple of years, but like,
no.
I'm saying just by a couple of years, We're the same demographic here, but I say that to say though, like in our UVA fan, I've been watching this program since 1990. I can call out the high points pretty easily, which is not a great sign that I can recall 30-ish years of history and be like, oh yeah, Florida State 95, Orange Bowl 2019. You can start, and then after that, there's some things that are personal to you, but the reality of them is they don't mean anything with the grand scheme. Like 0-3 against Tech means nothing to anyone who's not a Virginia fan because it's not a big deal. Sorry, it just isn't. But that's the things we have to hang our hats on as a part of this program. So I think the fact that this program right now is now suddenly you have fans who are super hyped. You're seeing crowds come in. I'm seeing the numbers on this show go up, from week 1 to where we are now in terms of how many people are logging in and listening and watching. And it's just, it's pretty fun to see. It is fun to see, but it's also like it's kind of surreal, to be like, oh my gosh, like this is actually pretty awesome. And one of the things I would argue, and I'll go ahead and say, it's also, and I'm one of the people who said it for years, like, why don't we just focus on being a basketball school? It's like, oh no, this is why you want to be a football school. Like, for all the highs and all the great that we had with Tony and everything else, it's great. And I wouldn't trade him for anything, but like this run and what you're seeing, just the energy, the football runs college athletics at the end of the day. And doing well and being ranked in the top 20 in that means more than all the swimming titles. Sorry, all the baseball titles. It just does. And the money backs it that way, and the fandom backs it that way. And now that we're actually getting a taste of it, it feels pretty awesome to be able to partake in it.
Well, I mean, the whole aura of a school. I mean, you go back to Michael Vick, right? I mean, clearly. So, background on me, right? When I was applying to colleges and I got my Air Force ROTC scholarship, I didn't even apply to Virginia Tech. I got a Virginia Tech acceptance letter in the mail because back then, if you got an Air Force ROTC scholarship, you got an auto acceptance into Virginia Tech. Would that happen now? No, because it's post-Vic.
Yeah.
Pre-Vic, you're getting an auto acceptance. Post-Vic, you're not. And so that's what football could do to a school.
Yeah. Yeah, 98 took that school from a place down there in the mountains to a national name, granted.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like we have that camaraderie. We'd have that that sports rivalry between the two schools. But in all honesty, that Virginia Tech is a great institution now, and it's very difficult to get into specific schools. And before that rise in football, that wasn't a case at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, football is the ship that rises, or the tide that rises all ships, or whatever they say, and it's pretty awesome to be sitting here. All three of us know each other because of this forum, and it's October 8th, and we're not having to talk about the blue and white scrimmage, the 15 recruits coming in or who may not be coming in. Like, there's actually tangible, real things to talk about on a national level, and it's pretty awesome as someone who spends a lot of time in the college football world that I can tune into any number of shows and I hear shout outs. Oh, Virginia just beat Louisville. Oh my God, did you watch Virginia, Florida State? Like that hits different. And that, to your point, Jazz, like that's the different thing that, what football does, it puts you on a national map. I've heard Virginia called out in the last 2 weeks on every national broadcast I listen to on a regular basis.
I mean, you're going to get an application bump for the wrong reasons, but you'll get an application bump just because people will see the school.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. Like all these shows previous to now, we've never been on them, and that's just the truth since they've been invented. So,
here's a good question we got. So, sorry, I'll get back up. So, Josh had said, "What's up?" earlier. We had Jeff, our guy from last week, in here too. Shout him out.
Yeah.
But Josh comes back with a good question here with this momentum. The tide shift in recruiting. So, I mean, I feel like that's something that you can run with. Not the thing about it is, like, I want to be careful how I word this. I don't want to say that just because they've won 5 games and they're 5-1, they can take off, right? I think what they can point to, though, is we have our facilities now. We have money backing the program. We have guys that are getting pretty fair deals. We're up to the level that a program looking to be top 30 or so should be. And on top of that, now with that, you have the winning. I think that as long as things stay good, nothing crazy happens down the stretch, that's something that can take off pretty quickly. Honestly, my feeling on it is that the transfer portal recruiting will stay up. I think we'll have another good run of that next year. And it might take another full good season to really start to turn the high school recruiting around. But I mean, I don't think they're recruiting terribly. I think there's been an issue. Sorry, I'm not really in depth with the recruiting as much as I probably should be, but I think there's been an issue with the numbers for this upcoming year. I think we're kind of low in count, but not in quality, if that makes sense.
Yep, that's my understanding of it. And I'm not a huge recruiting person, especially for football, just because typically speaking, they're not a top 100 player. You're not going to see their impact anyways for a couple of years. And it's just football. So it's not like basketball where you can out-athlete it and that talent, raw talent, just can make a difference. People get it wrong all the time. Look no further than what Texas is dealing with right now. That's not to pile on the poor kid, but it's the reality of most college football recruits fail. Just because it's a difficult game. It's hard to predict what you're going to look like at 17 versus what you're going to look like at 20. That said, I think you're absolutely spot on, Josh. I think as long as this team just doesn't lose out, I think the foundation is set for something special that they can build on. Like you said, the facilities are here. Most likely, by all indicators, this team's going to win at least 8 games, if not more, this season, which is a huge, the reality of it is, we're ideally in an ideal world, we're a plus minus 8.5 win program is about what we're hoping for. And I think, it puts us into that, Louisville-ish range where you're a team that's inside of the rankings, periodically outside the rankings, periodically that top 3 is, like you said. I think the reality we're going to see, though, the problem we're going to see is, and something we talked about a little bit on the forum, is Virginia football in our own backyard is not what it used to be. It's not quite this. This isn't 1990 or 1995 where you can go down to the 7-5-7 and pluck 15 guys who can all be starters someplace. There's no more, there's no more Heath Millers running around the mountains anywhere or anything like that, or Barber twins running around. It's a lot harder to recruit in Virginia right now because the talent base is just so spread out and so diluted, and high school football is so diluted. And then the guys who do pop are like the kid from Louisa, and they are so exceptional that, quite frankly, Virginia isn't going to be they wouldn't be in that race anyways unless something really drastic. They need to string together a couple seasons of 9-10 wins before. Because at the end of the day, if a Penn State, for lack of a better example, comes calling, unless someone has a real affinity for wanting to stay home, it's tough to say no to that. Mm-hmm. We're just not competing at that level. And that's also the same issue that most state schools have, to be perfectly honest. Georgia Tech.
I don't think we really understand how recruiting is going to change in the next couple of years with all the nil and so forth. So the tide shift in recruiting, you look at the basketball right now and no one's even fussed about any of the high school recruiting. If you look at the October leaderboard, Kuntru is not even writing stuff because it's not a big deal. It's not, we're not going against that. We're not going for 10 to 15 different recruits that everybody's trying to I'm manifesting, right? I'm manifesting this recruiting class. We're not doing that because is it as important as the transfer portal and nil and all that other stuff? I don't know anymore. And especially in football, you've got, we had so many transfers coming in, and you see all these other teams with so many transfers coming in, and it's a crapshoot now. It's not about cultivating and building out because of there's no red shirts now either, and there are as many red shirts, and then if you're not working out that year, you can just jump to the next school. So you can't even keep people there. So it's difficult. I don't really understand. I don't really think I understand it.
Yeah,
I understand it.
No, that's a great point, and it's one of those ones. I think football's a little bit different than basketball in that a couple of things. One, players just have to stick around longer, regardless whether it's at their school or just at this level, just because of the 3-year rule. They can't just jump in. You kind of get that thread out there. But I do think it's a delicate balance, to your point, Jay. I think the balance of teams and the teams that do it well they find a way to recruit, let's say 60 to 70% of their roster is homegrown. And they're the guys. And I think this is a spot where Virginia could thrive. And I think you're seeing it even places that are thriving in the portal, like in Indiana, where they're actually building up a nice little chunk of a roster of 3-star guys, 4-star guys, low 4s, and they're keeping them there for 2 and 3 years. So they're letting them develop kind of in the background. And meanwhile, then they're just seasoning with the portal over top of it. And they're finding those key positions, to Jeff's question or Jeff's point. I think that's the interesting one, is what happens with quarterback. And I think a lot of schools are facing that right now. It's like,
on your point and Jeff's together, Cap Texas together, is Kalen the successor or not? That's really what you're saying. Is he going to be seasoned, and is he going to be cultivated to be that successor or not? Or are we going to have to go in the portal?
I think they're going to go into the portal. I think they have to go into the portal regardless, even if Kalen is the number one penciled in going into spring ball. I think you still need to have competition. At this level now, you need I think you just need 2 quarterbacks on your roster nowadays, just because, especially if you're going to run the kind of stuff that Elliott runs. We say right now, Morris has gotten banged up twice this year, 3 times this year. It's just not anything bad, just playing football. It happens. You need another person there. And I don't know, and I have not seen enough of Caleb to see that he has shown that he's that lights out that you're like, oh, okay, we found our guy. And I think, it could be one of those things where it might take 2 or 3 years of kind of Band-Aids to get to a rookie or a freshman or first year we can get in there and kind of season for a couple of years. And so,
I mean, Morris is going to have to learn how to slide soon, or he's going to die by the end of the season. But
I mean, I got no problem with the way he plays.
I'm not saying I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying,
if he slid at the end of that game going into overtime, I would be furious at him. Like, you can't slide right there.
No, I get it. I'm just saying overall. I mean, he doesn't ever slide.
No, he doesn't. But I mean, he doesn't take that many hits. His injuries are fluky. The one against Coastal, he should have slid. I'll give you that. That was just him just trying too hard. Louisville one, he has to go head first now and try to score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then banging her hand on the helmet is just a fluke play. That's just football. It happens. There's not much you could have done about that. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see the Who's in that QB rental game for a little while. Notre Dame found success doing that for a couple of years there, and then they finally got a first year in there that they can depend on. But a lot of teams that's just the nature. I think the position on the football field that's most like what's going on in basketball is quarterback right now, where guys are bouncing around. Whereas I think some of the other positions, you can kind of keep some guys around a little bit more, and you get some movement, but you don't usually get the wholesale. Typically you don't see schools losing an O-line as a unit unless something really went weird. So I don't see that happening to us.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't know. I mean, I don't think that they're going into it thinking that Kalen can't be the guy either. Like, I think there's pretty fair confidence in him, but I agree completely. They're absolutely going to bring in, if nothing else, someone to keep a competitive fire going. I mean, they've got 2, I think, pretty good freshmen, Cole Gear and then Jorgensen, I believe I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah.
That, I think either of those 2 maybe could potentially down the road be something, but like you just can't go into it with 2 freshmen that don't see any action as, rising sophomores as your backups. Like, it's just not, it's not feasible in college football to do that.
Yeah. I mean, if you even just think about the timeline for this offseason, Kalen came in right away, basically, and they still brought in Morris over top of him. They still recruited over him. So I think that kind of shows you the mindset. I think they would do this, not to necessarily recruit over him, but, if the right person comes knocking, you have to do your duty in this day and age where essentially you can get anyone you want at any time if you're willing to pay the price.
Mm-hmm.
Now we can get into all the fantasy booking of what happens if Arch becomes available, and do you want to kick the tires on another unproven commodity? Then that's a whole other thing. But I think, if you get one of these guys who's another 5th year, who's coming out someplace, who's had a nice run at the group of 4 level or something like that, you might want to take a look at it, at least kick the tires and see what you get. If Cal's quarterback's available, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him in and let him be the long-term guy either, and let him learn. I like his potential. Or who knows? Maybe Nico's going to be available out of UCLA. Maybe you kick the tires on that.
What's the quarterback that was at BYU and he's at Tulane now? Is it Retzlaff? I think is his last name.
Yep.
Yeah, somebody like that you could grab, and I mean, obviously that dude puts up numbers. Like, he's really good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think you find someone like that and you can throw him. I mean, essentially that's what Morris was. Like, Morris wasn't. Right. He was a steady hand, and we knew what we were getting, but he also wasn't burning up the recruiting boards. Like, I think he was, top 10 maybe, but he wasn't the top guy coming in. So, but we'll get to that bridge when we get there. I think there's still plenty of football left to play this year, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for the squad left this year, and they have a lot to prove now, and they're playing with house money, which is pretty insane. I don't know that I've ever felt that way about a Virginia team. At any point, where I'm like, oh, it's house money. They can't go wrong.
I can't think of a year. You said I've been doing it longer than you. I can't think of a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's a weird position. And Josh, you texted me earlier this week, and you were like, "It's weird that every game's the biggest game potentially ever." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's just weird having stakes in October, like legitimate stakes, like top 25 play, like." Come on. That's not Virginia football. We don't do that here.
I'm still predicting 11 wins. 11 wins. Still 11 wins.
Well, that's what's insane. It's like you say
that's
that.
My
you
question.
were saying that back in, you were saying that a month ago. It's like, oh, ha, ha, ha. But, like, there's a mathematical chance of it now.
Well, but that was a question I posed today, right? I mean, all the computers say we've got 11 to 15% chance of 11 wins. I mean, is that actually feasible, or is it a gut feeling? Is there a gut feeling that we could do it, or no? Or do you think, I mean, I guess since we haven't had these type of seasons before, everyone's going to be like, well, we're going to trip up somewhere. But there is that feasibility that it's possible, because we haven't tripped up and we've shown the resilience in the last 2 games where I think at some point every Virginia fan thought we're going to lose both of them, right? Easily. I mean, that's just what we're used to. We're losing those games.
Yeah. I mean, I'll let Josh kind of weigh in first on his thoughts on how feasible, are we talking here?
I mean, I think when you think about, like, I think the 10 to 15% range is probably right. Like 1 in 10, 1 in maybe 8 to go that high to say like it could potentially happen. I mean, the thing about it is that the 2 games that we probably lose any other year just now were the 2 toughest games on our schedule. Like that's got to, I think, be considered into this a little bit. Some of the teams that we're playing, Washington State with all their crazy traveling issues they're about to deal with. UNC, I don't know if you guys saw those reports earlier, but that just keeps getting uglier. Yeah. We all know how Virginia Tech is going so far. Really, the 2 on the schedule that you're kind of looking – I mean, obviously, Virginia Tech feelings aside, the 2 on the schedule that you're looking at is making a trip all the way to California, because who knows what that'll be like. And then that Duke game, because Duke has shown to be pretty decent. I mean, I honestly don't really know what to make of them. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're looking like a really good team, but they've also not looked good at times this year. It could be a mixed bag, but that's probably the one that I'm circling as like the most anxious, just to see how that game shakes out. I think kind of to the point though, and Josh kind of mentioned too with our offensive line, it's a lot of older guys playing that, in some guys with some talent that might not be here next year also. But I think part of the reason I feel better this year, and I feel like those odds are fair and could actually happen, is because I don't think this is a team that you have to worry about falling into a trap game. Especially really because they already have 1 loss. Like there's not that feel of like, I mean, yeah, to us, 11-1 is like the greatest magical season, right? But like on a national scale, they're not viewing it as this like magical ride because they're undefeated. There's not that weight on top of it because they already have the loss. So I just feel like the way that this team can play, they can pound it down your throat as much as they want. That trap game type of thing, just I don't think it's going to really happen to them. I mean, I don't want to say it won't. I don't want to be that guy that puts that on them. But I just think the style of play and how they're doing things, and the guys that we have are kind of adverse to that not happening to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Tony Elliott also said that the loss was a blessing, which, I mean, the more you think of it, just like JB said, they're not undefeated. And I think that there would have been a lot of angst going to every game. With 1 win, you can just play freely. I mean, 1 loss, you can just play freely.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but I mean, it really is. I think that 1 loss is what's giving them house money right now. Is because, conceivably they could win out and not even make the ACC championship, or they could do it with. I know some guys are talking about whatever the scenario. You need help. They don't control their own destiny in any way, shape, or form, which is annoying, but also takes a load of that pressure off. You don't have to. 10-2 versus 11-1 doesn't really change the outcome for where this team ends up when it's all said and done. And so, to Jeff's point right there, I think the trap game just happened, and I think they survived it. I think you go on the road a week after your biggest win in 25 years, and you lose. I mean, you're in there with bubblegum at offensive line. You have your worst offensive performance of the year. Your defense, I still don't know how to describe how the defense played that game. I went from wanting Rudd to retire to thinking he's a genius because somehow that defense managed to beat the MVP of the game by scoring 14 points, all at the same time being generally bad. I think that was a trap game in a lot of ways, but I feel like 15% feels like feels realistic. A realistic odd is what I would place it like. Is it possible? Sure. Would I bet it or would I want to? Am I expecting it? No, just because.
Yeah, there's going to be a game, I think, and especially with injuries. Football,
yeah, exactly. I think that's more what it is. I don't think it's so much the team lets themselves down. It's just it's hard to win 6 consecutive games, 8 consecutive games, 9 consecutive games at the Division I level, unless you're uber talented. You can just out talent everyone all the way,
and you're lucky with injuries.
They're not that. Like they have to actually go out and play and win. They got to earn it the old school way, and like to Josh's point, like knock guys in the mouth. And that's hard to do every week. I do think a blessing for the team is they have a coach, though, who understands what it's like to play under that pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then some. Like, say what you want to say about Tony Elliott. He's coached on national championship teams. He coached at the peak of Clemson at Clemson when every game and before a playoff, when every game really was life or death for them. And he understands what it's like. And he's learned it from Dabo. I mean, granted, Dabo's not what he used to be, but he's learned it from him how to keep teams bought in and focused for these long chunks of time. And I also love the fact that the way the schedule broke for him. I mean, you get your bye week after week 6. You got another one coming late in the season. So you have 2 chances to kind of reset. First half season's done. Okay, reset, put it in the book, get healthy, and then we're going to get another one before Valtech. And I think that's huge that they kind of get those 2 breaks late to kind of break up the monotony of also just having to just go through the ringer 9 weeks in a row, the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think that's another thing too. Just kind of quickly circling back with the Duke game is that's the last game before that second bye. So that's one, again, we don't know where everybody's going to be. Hopefully everybody's healthy. There's not anybody too banged up, but at the same time, I mean, you have to be prepared. That could be a game where it feels like, oh, wow, we really have a chance at this by the time we get to it. And then, boom, we're down 4 starters. Like, I mean, that's just a realistic thing that could happen. It's a long season. It's a tough ride when you play 5-6 games straight. It's tough. I mean, that's the one I've got circled. I don't know. I feel good about their chances, though. I mean, it's crazy to think, like, when we did the preseason show, I've been saying this the whole time, I just want to get to the Pop-Tart Bowl. And I'm thinking that would take like 8 wins and hopefully things go our way because generally speaking, that's like a battle of ranked teams. So I'm like, okay, that, it's going to be tight, but hopefully we can get there. Like, this is fun. It's what I hope for. And now I'm sitting here like, oh my God, they really could go 10-2. Like that could for real be the season. Like it feels like almost a safe bet at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I've been saying 8 wins for a while now. I really think I expect 9 at this point, just because, and I expect 9 and would not be surprised at all at 10, just because, like you said, just because the way things have broken down and the way things are set up for them, it just makes the most sense. I think that Duke game's going to be tough. That Duke team, they're good. They're not really good, but they're good, and they're definitely good enough with enough weapons that if you open a window for them, they will kick it in and kick in the door and go through it. And so that's going to be tough. And then Cal, I'm less worried about Cal, having watched him a little bit more and just kind of seeing what they're doing. I'm not as, that's a freshman quarterback. You can get to them. And they're a little bit one-dimensional. But, yeah. And then there's the travel. But at least we're not Washington State's going to travel 8 times in 2 weeks, apparently. So...
Yeah, I seen somebody mention maybe they are going to stay on the East Coast. I think I saw that in forum. I had read, I don't remember the exact page of it, but it was something similar to Locker Room Access, but for Washington State fans, that was basically trashing their AD for making them fly back and forth twice in a week. So, I mean, I don't know which side is correct, which one isn't, but it sounds like it's at least up in the air maybe that they are doing that, which I think is ridiculous. Like, the world that we live in now is so different from 10 years ago where it was just unthinkable that you couldn't physically attend a class. Like, come on. I mean, these guys you could have them sit in a hotel's like ballroom, corporate room, meeting room, whatever you want to call it. And you could have them all in Zooms. I mean, the school could easily send some of the tutors with them. Like, I don't know why they're making this to be such a big deal about missing class at this point. Like, yeah, student athlete does still matter, but I think what class is so different, after the pandemic and everything we've been through, that I don't think it's as big of a deal as like some people still want to try to hold on to as far as physically being there goes. So, I mean, I hope for Washington State's sake that they're not being forced to travel across the country twice, but again, I don't know.
Yeah, even books and stuff. Like all my kids, my son's going to the middle school, or he was going to the middle school I went to, and they don't have lockers anymore because all they have is a Chromebook. All their books are on a Chromebook. So I mean, it should be the same thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, most athletes aren't going into a physical class. Plenty of athletes aren't doing that anyways because they're doing them online. From a playing standpoint or logistics standpoint, I don't know that really either one's better, to be honest with you. Like being holed up in a hotel for essentially 14 days, someplace in between Oxford, Mississippi and Charlottesville, Virginia is not ideal for that team. They're still, because they don't have practice facilities. They're going to have to, where do you go to practice? They can't go to the Y. So like there are logistics like that I don't know what you do and how they, I know Hawaii has done that where they'll come over and stay on the West Coast for a couple of weeks. And, they've worked out deals where they'll go to, the Raiders facility or back when they were still in California or something like that and practice. Maybe Ole Miss or maybe Washington State can do that. They can go work out at the Titans facility and stay in Nashville or something for the week would be ideal. But even still, like, again, yes, logistically from a class standpoint, it can be done. Keeping a bunch of 19-year-olds in a hotel room 3,000 miles away from home, going on tour like that when they're not used to it, as someone who's been on tour plenty of times, that is not easy. And I don't know if they're going to be any more as a toss. I don't know if they would be any more focused or prepared with that much of a distraction, or actually just flying home and just sucking it up and flying back in 6 days. And I think that's, you have to know your program and know your team, kind of know your logistics. I mean, I think I counted up. They fly east, four times this season. So, maybe it's just a business trip to them at this point. They're just used to it.
Yeah, it's a wild quirk there because I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have to come back and play JMU again in 3 weeks.
They got to finish JMU. Yeah,
it's just crazy like how that's happening.
They have 3 cross-country trips in 6 weeks. It's what they have. Ole Miss this week, Virginia the following week, and then they're back at JMU 2 weeks after that, I think it is.
Which, speaking of around the country, we got Connecticut here. Thanks, Bill. Hope you're doing well too.
Hey,
love that, picking up viewers from everywhere. That's fun. Yeah, I don't know though. I mean, Jazz, what do you think? I mean, I know you posed the question, but I'm gonna kind of throw it back at you. Like, what do you think that they can do? Do you think they can get there? I mean, how high on the belief meter are you in this?
Well, I mean, you're with your team, so I mean, there's something about that too. Because as somebody who travels quite a bit, if you're by yourself, it's hard to maintain focus, and you just want to get home. But if you're with your team, and you do find a way to practice, and you find something to occupy your mind and do your classes and everything, I mean, they're getting paid to play. I mean, we wouldn't say that 10 years ago, but getting paid to play. And so they're there to be prepared, get prepared, and understand what's going on. So honestly, the focus that you probably have sitting in the hotel room, as opposed to having to go somewhere else and like having to all come back after dinner or whatever to do video study, just get everybody from the hotel, go down into whatever conference room they've got, and then do this film study. It might even be better because you got better focus. I don't know.
It can go either way. I mean, in all honesty, like there are upsides to both of them. I mean, there's part of me as a coach who's like, I agree with you. I would just treat it as a mini camp and just stick everyone in a hotel for 2 weeks. But also, it's hard to stick everyone in a mini camp in the middle of the season.
I get it. I mean, and we're not 17 either. But if you're, but at the same time, we go back to the military, right? That's the majority of the time when you go on a deployment, right? If I'm the captain and I'm the 23-year-old, how many people are under 23? The majority of the flight or the group or the squadron. So I'm using Air Force terms. So the platoon or the squad or I'm not in the Army, battalion, right? And so all those groups, right? The majority of them are going to be 18 to 21 because that's how the military works. So that's a rough group to try to maintain focus.
Well, I'll say this as a rugby player who has been on many tours with a bunch of 18 to 25-year-olds.
Yeah,
it can work. And it can, but it also the right coach has to be able to allow them to have those release valves in there,
right?
So that you can let them blow that steam off in a way that is still constructive, and that's where it really comes down to the staff and, you can't just lock them away and they're just do film study for 14 days. But you also, if you were to stay in a Nashville, let's just say, they got to be able to have a couple nights out where they get to do some team bonding and have, blow that steam off and have some fun, and then refocus quickly and, do a good job doing bed check. That's the thing I could say. Someone went out.
You see that thing that Bill just wrote on the messages? Yeah, I did see that. Somebody, I saw that text or the tweet that said that there was an anonymous $50 million donation. That's crazy, but really, $50 million doesn't do anything until somebody understands what to do with it. So we'll see.
Yeah. But that is just make sure I'm understanding right. That is one where they have the donation. It's not just saying that we will get this donation, because I think we've seen that some places.
I think they came through with it. And I mean, Stanford's one of those ones where, like, if someone were to get it right, like I believe they would, Stanford's proven to have success. They've had successful runs in the past. They have a pretty decent infrastructure there in terms of like what to do. It's fallen off a little bit as they've fallen. They're like us. They've fallen behind in facilities and some other things in recent years. But if there is a team that can get it together quickly with those resources and kind of get themselves back and right the ship, it's Stanford's only a couple years away from being a consistent 9-win team. It was only 3 to 4 years ago when Shaw had them winning 9 games every year. And, they're not that far off that mark right now. They just, and clearly they have some high-ranking alum like an Andrew Luck, who is he the coach on that team now? I don't even know. But
he's the GM.
He's the GM. Okay. He was on the sideline nonstop being shown when we were playing.
Right. Yeah.
I like to see when I watch Stanford games now. So, but yeah, to that point, that you have some guys who know ball and who know how to kind of put that sort of thing together, and are clearly passionate about it. Like, Andrew Luck doesn't need to be there. He's only there because he loves ball. Like, and that's huge. He's not, he's going to do what's best for the school.
Well, before we wrap up, let's go into it a little bit. I mean, this is the bye week, so we don't have a game, obviously, to talk about. We're going to save that for next week. We'll do the Washington State thing then when that game's actually about to happen. But, Dragon, you're in the bye week, right? Let's just say you're coach in this situation. What do you have the guys doing this week? Let's do both sides of the ball. Let's do offense and defense. What do you like? What is your focus? What do you want them doing? What's your key points here?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it is you're doing a lot of off-feet conditioning and just rehab, getting every guys healthy, getting all the little niggles worked out. And I think offensively, this is a great opportunity to kind of – we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, how we've watched their plays progress from game to game, and we've seen like, oh, that play's here to set up the next play, to set up the next play next week. Mm-hmm. This is a great opportunity to kind of install version 2 of that playbook and kind of take it, because at this point you have 6 games on film. All your sets and your tendencies are set, and everyone's got them on iPads and know what they are. So you need to use the time to take the extra time to evolve that. And so I think they're going to spend a lot of time on that, and a lot of time just on getting healthy. I mean, luckily from the offensive side, I'll chalk last week up to injuries more so than the system not working. And then beyond that, there's not a lot to complain about. They're averaging 500 plus yards in offense. You're scoring 40 points a game, basically. Just to keep evolving. Don't become complacent. And that's the thing. I think if I'm a coaching staff, I'm a little hard on them. I'm MFing some of those guys to make sure that they're staying sharp and it's razor sharp. And it's not just, hey, don't listen to these jagoffs here on this podcast saying how great you are. You're going to win 11 games. No. You're still that team that everyone thought was going to win 2 games back in August, and you need to fight like hell. Like you're still that team. So, I'm working on that. Defensively, on the other side, we got to get back to basics. We got to figure out what in the world's going on with our communication on the back end. Mm-hmm. We got to figure out why is it that it seems that everyone doesn't understand what the scheme is calling for and when they're calling for it. And we got to ramp that back up. And I mean, if I'm defensively speaking, I don't know what the rules are for football's so soft now. They don't let them be in pads nearly enough. But I would have had guys sticking for the first couple of days this week just to get some aggression back up, get that level of just intensity back. Again, like I said, like Saturday against Louisville, the defense was the savior and also the reason the game almost got blown. and save for 2 just phenomenal plays. And they were phenomenal plays that the defense created too. It wasn't like they were just accidental turnovers and bad throws. The defense created them, but also the defense took away a lot too. And so I think, it's a lot of time in film, getting guys in the classroom, getting guys back on the same page, and just really ratcheting up the intensity and just drilling home how important it is for them to be sharp moving forward and to be ready.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of mad that I posed the question now instead of just talking my way through it, because you literally took everything I was going to follow up with. I mean, to a T, number one, get healthy, go to the offensive side. I'm really hoping going forward, the intricacies of the offense really start to stand out. Some of those sets that they've run that we've talked about, you can see different play variations, different branches coming off of that. It's time to let those things loose as you get farther into the season. I mean, there's no point in holding them now. Everybody, you're on film, like you said, there's 6 games worth of tape. They can pick up on all kinds of tendencies. They can pick up on all the sets, all the formations. Well, now it's time to really show what you can do out of those. And then other side of the ball, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think the biggest thing I would do is we would be watching film and we would be in the the shell drills where it's just passing game coordination and just working out our zones, working out our man coverages, trying to communicate better, trying to stay on top, really trying to draw in the guys' focus. Maybe putting, some challenging things where, I don't know, just say they have to do 100 push-ups if they lose focus or something of that nature, because it's felt like the issues have been communication and falling asleep on the back end, not being as laser sharp as they should be. Now that said too, I saw this earlier as an interesting tweet. I think it was Eric Ward actually put it out. He works in the UVA athletics. He's part of the promotions and ticketing, all that stuff. He's been doing a great job too, by the way. But
stop sucking up for tickets.
He put out a stat there that says, so they have either been in the lead, tied, or it was a 1-possession game and they had the ball, so a chance to do something about it, right? All but 15 plays so far this year. There have only been 15 plays that they were down and did not even have a chance to do something about it.
Wow. I mean, that's
that makes sense. I wouldn't have thought about that, but yeah.
I mean, that's really diving in. But when you think about it as a Virginia fan, because truthfully, we're used, a 5-win season isn't crazy to us. A 3-win season is crap, but we're not all that shocked when it happens. I hate to say it, but it's true. That's just the past. It is what it is. For them to be at that level all year, I mean, I think it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is. And it's, even as you were kind of saying it, I was thinking, I was like, I don't really remember them trailing this year. I know it's happened, but yeah. And to the point of it, I think that's the power of that particular stat. It's happened, but when it's happened, you're like, oh yeah, they're going to score on this possession, and then that either ties it or they take the lead. It's never, they have been in a 2-possession ball game, I don't think, at any point this year, which is pretty crazy at this point. So thank you, Bill, for joining in. We're a football school now. We're a football forum now.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And like you said, I mean, that's what drives everything, right? People are coming over. Hopefully it translates to the same
background. Way. Who got to talk to change his background? Who I got to fire to do that? Do I have that right to do that? Jazz.
Hey, who is late to the podcast today, huh? I mean, Dave 92 was complaining that we weren't on in time.
Man, I'm a superstar. We're 5-1 now. I get to be a little late.
I do want to, off topic, I do want to show off I am the Dragon Lair North.
There we go.
B-Dragon did mail this to me probably a year and a half ago, and we're in my home gym right now. It's looking out the window right now, but I normally have this, and I just like to thank him for giving me this. Actually, I paid for it, but thanks for sending it to me. But it's good. We're Dragonland North here.
Breathe fire.
Yep.
It's good stuff, and so far football has been good stuff too. So. Realistic chances, I mean, they really could make the ACC Championship. Kind of, in my opinion, I think if they make it, it's probably because they went 11-1 the whole way. I don't know that they're going to get in with another loss, being some of the other teams, Duke with their schedule, Georgia Tech with theirs. Those two play each other, so I think that kind of does us some favors, maybe helps us out a little. But if they get there and they're 11-1, I mean, truthfully, I think they're almost a virtual lock for the college football playoff. As crazy as that sounds, it's still possible. I think that's the only path they have to get there. And really, they'd probably be well served to have a competitive game, at least with Miami, as opposed to just getting mopped off the floor. But I think they could take that same Indiana approach from last year and get in.
Yeah, because I mean, This is one of those ones I know people have been talking about on the forum, and I just haven't spent enough time looking at the potential scenarios and breaking it down, who's got what schedule. But yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if the ACC got 2 in, and if that means, especially if it's a 11-2 Virginia and a undefeated Miami, I would assume at that point is how that would break down. Yeah, I could see the Who's being that 7th or 8th seed or whatever it is in there. And, you know, I would love to. I've joked around about it. There's nothing I would love more than to be rolling into Scott Stadium on December 20th and just kicking off the Christmas holiday the right way with a playoff game. Or more than likely rolling into Bloomington, Indiana on December 20th for a little Big Ten action. But I'll take it.
Yeah, that would be the ultimate dream come true. I mean, I am still setting my goal where I've had my flag planted all year. We will be in the Pop-Tart Bowl. Like, I'm still aiming for that. That's my realistic hope thing that I think will happen. But it's not crazy at this point to actually dream about the playoff. You know, everybody dreams about the playoffs in August, right? Like when you're 0-0, nobody's been beaten yet.
Wasn't.
We can all dream about it.
I wasn't.
I don't know. I mean, I pick up the college football video game. I get them there. You know, whatever. We make it happen. I don't know.
I'm not sure I've dreamt of that ever until
exactly right. I was like, man, that's too silly. Get off that.
Yeah. But no, it is though. It's something that can happen. It's something that gives everyone reason for excitement and hope and fun and joy, like things that we usually don't associate with football, or they're here now, and it's wonderful, honestly.
Yeah, I mean it's been fun, and I'm looking forward to the back half of the season, and you know, just it's a little rough having to carry this much every Saturday and changing my Saturdays around, but it's worth it though. It's like I said at the top of the call, like football is what stirs the drink for all college athletics, and it's just all your other athletic seasons are going to feel a lot better when you have a football program that's taking care of business on the field, and you're not worried and living by offensive rebound on how your basketball team's doing at some, you know, ballroom in Atlanta or wherever they're playing in the Greenbrier Resort or whatever it is. And not to say that I discredit our basketball team, but it really sucks for you life or death situation for your basketball team, and it's Thanksgiving weekend because that's all you got. So it's nice to have something else going on there.
It does. It feels good. So that's all we've got for this week. We'll be back again next week. Go over Washington State game, get ready for the rest of the season. But everyone rest up, get ready, enjoy the weekend off. Go Hoos.
Go Hoos.